Thank you all so much for waiting. Please join me in welcoming legendary actor Koji Yakusho. And writer-producer Jun Masumoto. I'm Karen Severance. Our interpreter tonight is Kanoko Tamura. Let me quickly introduce our guests. I will start with Mr. Masumoto. Jun Masumoto developed, wrote, and produced The Days, as well as acting as the series showrunner. He's the creator of the hugely popular TV series Code Blue, which also became the #1 live-action film of 2018 when Code Blue, the movie, was released. He had joined Fuji Television in 2000 and produced a range of dramas, including the socially conscious series The Great White Tower and Barefoot Gen, before he went independent in 2019. This is his first big production, and we welcome him.
増本です。こんばんは。今日はお越しいただきありがとうございます。よろしくお願いします。
Good evening, everyone. I'm Masumoto, and nice to meet you. Thank you for coming tonight.
And although he probably needs no introduction, let me introduce Koji Yakusho. Koji Yakusho burst onto the international scene in 1996 with Shall We Dance, and he's been making film history ever since, working at a blistering pace and receiving multiple acting honors, both domestically and overseas. Mr. Yakusho has essentially defined the Japanese male and become the benchmark for excellence in Japanese cinema. And as you know, in May, he was honored with the Best Actor Award at the Cannes Film Festival for Wim Wenders' new film, Perfect Days. It's been, we think, 8 years since Mr. Yakusho was last here. We're really thrilled that he's back. Welcome back.
こんばんは、Yakusho です。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
Good evening, everyone. I'm Yakusho. Nice to meet you all.
So let me begin with a couple of questions. From here on, no flash, please.
ではここから質疑に入りますが、ここからはフラッシュを焚かずにお願いします。
I'd like to start with Mr. Masumoto and ask about the genesis of this project, which you spent 4 years on. I heard that you actually went up to Fukushima and volunteered. Is this what made you decide that you needed to create this series?
では増本さんにご質問から始めたいと思うんですけれども、まずはこの映画を作ることになったこのドラマシリーズを作ることになったきっかけからお伺いできればと思います。4年間の構想期間を経て今回公開になったというふうに聞いたんですけれども、そもそも震災があった時に福島にボランティアにも行かれたというふうに伺いました。そのボランティアの経験というのが今回の作品の創作のきっかけになったということなんでしょうか。
そうですね。実際僕が行ったのは、3月11日に地震が発生してから1ヶ月後ぐらいだったんですけれども、そこで本当にすごい惨状を目の当たりにして、すぐにそこでじゃあこれをドラマにしようとか映画にしようってことをパッて思いついたわけではないです。やっぱりそこでは衝撃の方が強くて整理できない気持ちがある中で、月日が経って自分が何かこの震災と関われることがあるのかなって考えた時に果たすべき役割はそれを映像として、世の中に残していくことなのかなって思ったのがきっかけですね。
Yes, I did go volunteer in the area probably after 1 month after the earthquake in March 11th in 2011. But when I actually went to the devastated area during those times, I was too shocked to see how devastated the whole area was. So I couldn't really think of making anything out of it, or I didn't think a word about drama or making a movie out of it. I was just shocked, and I just spent time to observe and absorb what is really going on, and I couldn't really put myself together what I think about this whole situation. So it took me a long time to digest what I saw and how I feel about the earthquake and all the aftermath. And only after then I could start thinking about what kind of role I can play in continue talking about this topic, and maybe my role can be making a film or a drama series out of this, and that could be one way to keep facing that issue from what I can do.
Thank you. Mr. Yakusho, you've played many real-life heroes of history before, but this man that you play here, Masao Yoshida, although he's a real-life man, he's really more of an ordinary man in an extraordinary situation. Did it take you a long time to prepare to play this role?
では次、役所さんにご質問なんですけれども、役所さんはこれまでも多くの英雄たちを演じられてまして、特に実在する人物を演じられたことも数多くあると思うんですけれども、今回の吉田所長という人物はその中でも非日常的な状況に置かれたごく普通の男という役柄だったと思います。そういったその吉田正夫という人物を理解し、今回演じるのにどのぐらいの時間をかけたんでしょうか。
そうですね。まあ時間に関しては実際この震災の当時福島第一原発でどういうことが行われていたか、それで吉田所長のことも知ってましたし、それでその震災のあと吉田所長とその東京電力と福島原発とその本店とのやり取りの音声とかなんとかっていうのはその SNS で聞いてたりしましたし、そういう意味ではその表面的にはなんとなくその吉田所長のイメージっていうのはあったんですけれども、今回その原作があって、それで松本さんが脚本化してくれて、その中で、登場するその吉田さんっていうのはそうですね、結局は撮影現場に行って自分たちのその社員たちとそれとその本店とそれとその永田町とのやり取りをやりながら吉田所長はどういう心情だったのかとか、こういう時は多分苦しかっただろうなとか、そういうのを一つ一つそのシーンによって自分の中にこう落とし込んでいったような気がします。
So at the time of the earthquake and after the earthquake, I did follow the news, and I followed the news about the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station, and I followed what was happening, including Mr. Yoshida. So I knew that figure when the issue was happening, and I knew that Yoshida-san was playing this very important role, talking to the TEPCO and the government, and I also even heard some of the voice recordings of the conversation that Yoshida was having with the headquarters of TEPCO. I think I found this on social media or something. So I vaguely had this image of who Yoshida was, and I kind of followed the news. But that was just a superficial image of what I could get from the media back then. So when I decided to play this role, it was written after the original book, and Masumoto-san wrote the screenplay, and I read the character that was written down especially for this work. And in the end, I think it was only at the site of filming that I gradually became this character of Yoshida. At the meeting all the colleagues that Yoshida was working with this conversation with the headquarters of TEPCO and also with the government in Nagatacho. And I gradually understood, and I kept thinking about what would Yoshida be thinking at this point, or what would he be feeling at this point. It must be very, very suffering and difficult for him to say this word or cope with the situation. So I only became Yoshida at the site of filming gradually as I played each scene and filmed each scene.
だからやっぱり今回はやっぱり歴史上の人物としてもを演じるよりもは非常にまだ時間も短いですし観客の人たちも非常に生々しい記憶がある中で事故のことを演じるっていうことが、このエンターテインメントしすぎないドラマとしてその演じすぎないということは撮影現場でもみんなが心がけてできるだけおそらくこういうあそこで働いた行動していた人たちはこういう気持ちで行動したかそれでこういう気持ちで苦しんだかっていうことを演じるというよりも何か非常にやっぱりドキュメンタリーに近いような表現方法を見つけて、作っていったような気がします。
So, it is a historical event, but it is very, very, it's just still very raw and still very close to the people here, and people are still living on that event, and people are still digesting. So I think all my, including myself, but all the crew was very careful, and all the actors were very careful not to make this work too much of an entertainment or too much of a drama or theater, and to really carefully expressed how each of the character should be feeling, or we spend a lot of time thinking what would they be feeling at this point, what would they be thinking if I were in the shoes, and be really realistic about it. So it was almost like making a documentary film. So I didn't feel like acting out a character. I really tried to be that person to really express what was really realistic about that person.
Thank you. All right, now it's your turn. Please wait for the microphone to reach you after you're called. 2 important things. Ask questions only about the days, please, not about other works. I know what you want, but you're not going to get it. And 2, please ask only one question.
ではここから皆さんからのご質問をお受けしたいと思います。マイクをお持ちしますので、それまで手を挙げていらしてください。2つお願いがあります。1つ目は今回の The Days の作品に限った質問にしていただきたいということです。他にもいろいろお伺いしたいことはあるかもしれませんが、今回はこの作品のみとさせていただきます。そしてお一人1つにクエスチョンを絞って1つの質問でお願いいたします。
Okay, I'll start here, and then Martin and Mark and the gentleman behind you. Okay.
Thank you very much for the very compelling program. My question is for the showrunner. Mr. Yakusho mentioned that you were trying to make a documentary, but I was very struck by the way in which this was, at least on the screen, indebted to disaster cinema, Hollywood disaster cinema, the cross-cutting, the way the disaster was captured, and even that there seemed to be some parallels between the way this series is structured and more metaphorical representations of the earthquake like Shin Godzilla, such as the bureaucrats
Okay,
debating.
and your question is,
And my
please?
question is, given this, how do you understand the role of genre of set story types as a productive means of working through shock and negotiating historical trauma? Thank you.
どうもありがとうございます。先ほど役所さんの方からほぼ、ドキュメンタリーのような気持ちで今回演じられたというお話があったんですけれども、私は今回上映を拝見してそれでもすごくドラマ的な要素が強いというふうに感じました。ハリウッドの例えばそういった災害をテーマにした映画とも共通するような映像作りの手法ですとか表現っていうのが他所に感じられて、すごくそういったメタファーの使い方ですとかシン・ゴジラを彷彿させるようなものがあったりですとかそういったものも見受けられたと思うんですけれども、私の質問といたしましては、こういうようなドラマシリーズを作って作品化することが、実際に起こったこういうトラウマ的に皆さんの心にショックを与えたような出来事を乗り越えていく、もしくはこれに向き合っていくという時にどういう役割を果たすとお考えでしょうか。
And this is for Masumoto-san. Yes.
質問ありがとうございます。乗り越えていくっていうことに関して、どういう作用を及ぼすかっていうことは非常に回答が難しい質問なのでこれという明確な考えはないんですが、実はこれどちらかというとこれを見てトラウマを乗り越えてほしいという話ではなくて正直12年経ってですねもう忘れかけてる人々ですとか、もしくはそもそもこの311が起きた時に幼すぎてこの事故自体を知らないとかはっきり記憶にないという若者が日本には増えていて、そういった人たちに忘れかけていた人たちには思い出してもらいたいし知らなかった人々には知ってもらいたいと。でそういった人たちが世の中に増えることで実際この災害を体験して傷ついてそのトラウマを背負っている人々ですねが回復する手助けを、そういう人たちが、するかどうかと非常に難しい問題ですけど、そのきっかけになれば作った意味があるかなと考えて作りました。
So, it's a very difficult question to answer directly to what you are asking, but to me, it's not. I made this work not to overcome our trauma or to forget about the trauma, or to for that to digest the trauma. It was more about reminding people that this is still going on. And it's been 12 years now since the earthquake, and people are forgetting what happened. And also people who were very, very young at that point don't know much about what really happened in 12 years ago. So I hoped that by making this type of work, I can help people remember what was happening or to get to learn what was happening very recently. And I don't know if that would help change the way people feel about the incident, but at least if more number of people know and be aware about this incident, then I hope that that can help other people, maybe those people who are actually traumatized by that incident, to maybe recover. I cannot promise if that happens, but I was hoping that having bigger number of people being aware about this incident would work for the better.
Yes, Martin.
ちょっと一ついいですか。
Sorry.
あと先ほどドラマ的演出ということがありましたけど、そこについてちょっと一言だけ言わせていただくと、先ほど役所さんがドキュメンタリーに近いような演出であったり 芝居という話をされましたが、その真意というのはおそらく僕が感じているのは、例えばこれは感動的な話ですよとか、これは、英雄たちのお話ですよとか、もしくはここで泣いてほしいとか、笑ってほしいみたいな、見る人へのある感情の押し付けをしないようにしようということをおそらくスタッフもキャストの皆さんも、心がけて作っていて、それをしてドキュメンタリックな、手法というふうに表現されたんじゃないかなって僕は思ったんですが、一方で先ほど質問された方からドラマチックな表現というふうに出たのは、直前に今僕が答えた回答とも通ずるんですけど、やっぱりその若い人であったりとか、そもそもこの出来事にあまり興味を持っていないっていう人々がこう途中で視聴を脱落してしまうと結局見てもらえなくなってしまうので、そこはやはりある一つの、これは誤解がないように受け止めてほしいんですけど、エンターテインメントとして物語を1話から8話まで最後まで見てもらうための手法として、そういうある、ドラマチックな手法でディザスターを見せるということを、テクニックとして使ったというのはあるかなと思っています。
I just want to fill in and comment on what you said about this dramatic direction of the series, and I would like to fill in what Yakusho-san said about almost feeling like a documentary film, because it is dramatic, but I think what Yakusho-san meant when he said it almost felt like making a documentary film is that it's not that we didn't do any drama or we didn't make any drama, but it was more to be very sincere about our expression and not to impose any types of feelings or like an aspect or effect that the viewers should feel. So it's not, we didn't try to impress anyone. We didn't try to make them cry or laugh at any point. It wasn't about making a hero type of tale, but it was really to play on how thinking about those people who were actually in that incident. So I think that's what he wanted to say when he mentioned documentary aspect of this work. But I do also want to emphasize that we did make a drama because, as I said, it is also important for young people, young generation, for example, or people who don't have much interest in this incident to really enjoy this film and get involved in the film. So we really tried so that the whole series from episode 1 to 8 will be actually something that people want to watch and not stop watching in the middle. So we did strategically chose specific expressions or methods or techniques as a way to make this a type of entertainment in a way, because it is really important for people to be able to watch that whole series and whole stories that we make.
Yes.
Is this on? Thank you, Karen. My name is Martin Fackler. I have a question for Mr. Matsumoto. This is the second major production based on Kadota Ryusho's book. The first one, starring Watanabe Ken, had a very different presentation of the events. I'm just wondering why you chose this book as the basis for the second version, and did you consciously try to make the series different from the first movie, Fukushima 50, that came out a couple of years ago? I'm just wondering why. It seems like you're visiting some of the same terrain, but you're also doing it differently, and I'm just wondering what your thinking is. Thank you.
でこれは増本さんに質問です。この今回の原案となった門田隆翔さんのご本がありますけれども、こちらの本をもとに作られたこういった映像というのは今回2作目にあたると思います。1作目は数年前に映画として発表された福島50がありました。渡辺謙さんが主演されました。でその福島50の映画の後にまたさらにこの門田隆翔さんの同じ原作をもとに改めてこの作品を撮ろうと思った経緯ですとか理由というのがあればぜひお聞きしたいなというふうに思いました。同じ方向性を向いていながらも何か別のことをやろうとしたとか何か新しくやろうとしたことっていうのがあるのかなというふうに思ったのでお聞きしました。
まず大前提として、もともと映画の福島50があってそれがあったのに自分たちも新しく作ろうって思ったわけではなくて、そもそもほぼ同時期に実はこれは制作をしていて、我々はそもそも映画2時間ですが8時間分撮らなければいけないので制作期間が長いんですね。でその間に新型コロナウイルスの、パンデミックがあったりしたので撮影が1年半まず中断したということで公開がだいぶ我々のが後になったという経緯があります。
So first of all, I didn't come up with the idea for this series or started making series after this Fukushima 50 came out. I had this idea and we started working on this project almost parallel to that movie. So it wasn't my reaction or response to that movie. So that's the premise here. And because we started filming and the Fukushima 50 was a movie, so it was a 2-hour movie. But we had the series, so we had to film 8 hours of recording, and that to naturally take longer hours to film. And because the COVID, because the pandemic happened in between, we stopped working on this production for about 1.5 years. So it just took longer time for us to publish.
その前提があった上でお話をするともちろん同じ題材ですが、視点というのはかなり違っていて、もちろん結果的に一緒だった可能性もありますけど、出来上がったものを見たらだいぶ違っていたので良かったんですが、福島50というのはタイトルにも、表現されている通り、あそこに最終的に残った正確に言うと69人の人々ですけど、福島50と呼ばれる、運転員の方々、作業員の方々の、奮闘というか英雄的行動ですよねを映画にしたものが福島50ですが、我々は、ザ・デイズと銘打っているように福島第一原発で起きた日々というか事実を描きたかったというところが一番強くて、決して描いているものはあそこに残った人々だけを描いているつもりはなくて、官邸側の人々、東電本邸側の人々、もしくはそもそもそのニュースを聞いていた人々もそうですけれども、いろんな人々の視点で事故をどう捉えるかということをなるべく我々の思想を排除して多角的に描けたらいいなということが前提にありました。そこが映画との違い、我々のドラマの違いであって、ただそれをやるにはいろんな人の視点が入って出来事も多いものですから、2時間の映画では我々の視点はちょっと厳しかったというのがあって、8話の連続ドラマというスタイルを取りました。
So that's the premise, and we are, of course, based on the same incident and same book. But I think the movie and our series took a very different perspective when we make the work, and I think we can also tell from looking at the titles of the work. So Fukushima 50, as it says in the title, focuses on the operators and staff members who remained in the building to trying to control the nuclear power plant. And it was actually 69 people in reality, but that's called Fukushima 50. And the film focuses on their efforts and heroic actions that those people who remained in the building took during those days. And on the other hand, our series titled The Days really try to focus on everything what happened during those days based on the facts. So so it's not only about people who remained in that building, but we try to show different perspectives to look at that incident and with different kinds of people who were involved in looking at that incident. So we included the government and we included the headquarters at TEPCO and all the people, ordinary people watching the news over the days. And we try not to impose any specific views to understand that incident, but instead we try to provide different perspectives so that the viewer also can come up with their own perspective to understand what was really happening. So I think, and in order to do that, in order to provide this multi-perspective ways to look at this incident, 2 hours wasn't enough for us. So that's why we went for 8-hour series.
Mark Schilling of the Japan Times. I did interview Mr. Kadota about his book. I even read the book. I saw the movie. Of course, I've seen your drama. And you're right, there are very different perspectives, but one impression I got from both is it was a very narrow thing, that it could have gone very badly, very quickly, if you didn't have the right people in place, and of course, with Mr. Yoshida making the right decisions. Having said that, I mean, we're in this situation 12 years later where there's a nuclear power plant in Ukraine that is in a war zone. You have talk of using nuclear weapons on the battlefield.
So Mark,
and I'm wondering what your thoughts are, having gone through this whole experience on nuclear power.
And did you want to ask both of them?
I think, yeah, if
yes,
they both
okay.
have comments, yeah.
So your question is, what your thoughts on the nuclear power plant now? Your question is on your thoughts on both of the people's thoughts on okay.
Yeah.
Okay. ではお二人に質問なんですけれども、私は実は門田さんにも直接インタビューをしたりですとか、福島50も拝見しまして、もちろんこの Days も拝見したわけなんですけれども、どの作品においてもこの数日間あそこの福島第一原発で起こったことというのは本当に一歩決断を間違えばとんでもないところまで行くような絶対絶命の状況で、例えば吉田さんのような方が決断を一つ一つ下していった結果、今ここの我々のこの地点にいるわけですけれども、この12年間経った今、今でもやはりこの原発の問題というのは世界から消えていなくて、例えばウクライナでも今戦争の真っ只中の中に原発があるという状況ですとか、そういった状況を鑑みて、今この皆さんこのお二人がプロジェクトを終えた後もこの12年経った後、今原発についてどのような考えをお持ちなのかということをお伺いしたいです。
非常にこれ難しい問題なので、簡単に一言で答えるのができないんですけれども、原発が必要か必要でないかとか、使うべきか使わざるべきかという議論の前にですね、皆さんにまず関心を持ってもらえないかなということを僕は思ってこの「The Days」を作りました。というのは、今年発表されましたけれども、電磁連ですとか政府の方では 原発の積極的稼働をするということがもう法案に盛り込まれています。再稼働ももちろんですが、新規建設、あとは寿命の延長ですよね、を行っているんですが、問題は、それがいいか悪いかというのは非常に難しい問題なので、ここで短時間で言及することはできないんですが、それよりも大きな問題、世の中がほとんどそれを知らないということです。おそらく私の両親なんかもよく分かってないですし、なんなら私の友人たちもよく分かってないんだろうな、僕もじゃあお前はどこまで分かってるんだって聞かれるとそこまでは分かってないですけど、そもそも関心がない中でどんどん、原発の再稼働と新規建設、寿命の延長が起きているというこの事態が僕自身は問題だと思っていて、やれる役割としてはそこにみんな興味を持ってもっと議論を活発にしてもらえればいいのかなということを考えています。
It's hard to come up with a simple answer to your question, but before talking about do we need a nuclear power plant or should we use the nuclear power plant, before asking those questions, what I want to do is to make more people interested in this topic and issue and have more active discussion about the topic. And that's one of the reasons why I made the days. Because this year as well, the government included in their policy to reactivate nuclear power plants, or they even included building new power plants, or they also had the policy to use longer of each nuclear power plants. And so the government is moving forward to be pro nuclear power, but the problem is, I'm not trying to say if it's good or bad decisions. I think it's we need a lot of time to discuss that. But the problem is that the society and people in Japan don't know much about this topic and don't even know that the government is going pro again. I don't think my parents know much about it. I don't think my friends talk about it. I myself don't know enough to talk about it, maybe. But the government is going forward. So what I can do, I think, is to do whatever I can to make more people interested in this topic, so that there is much more active discussion about it, so that we can actually pay attention and start thinking about what is good and what is bad.
Mr. Yakusho.
そうですね。もちろんこうやって事故が起きたり、地震が起きたり、津波が来たりして。原子力発電所が、トラブルがもう非常に怖いものであることはみんな分かってるわけですけども、そういうものを使わずに僕たちが普段この湯水のように使っているこの電力が手に入れば、それ以外のものがいいには決まってるんですけども、でも今回正直僕もこのドラマをこのエンターテインメントとしてドラマ化して大丈夫だろうかってすごくやっぱ不安があったんですけれども、増本プロデューサーがやはりこれはあの時あの場所で何が起こっていたのかっていうのをやっぱり僕たちは伝えていかなくちゃいけないんじゃないかというその企画の思いがあって、そして彼はこれからも果たして福島が収束していくのか、もちろん希望は持ってますけども、あと何年かかるかわからないけれども、この収束に向けて復旧に向けての過程も彼はライフワークとして描いていきたいっていう思いが強かったので、すごく僕はやっぱりこれはもう第1シーズン目としては参加したいなと思いました。やっぱりもう今世界中が本当に混乱している中でも エネルギーについてはもう本当みんなが考えなければいけないことだと思いますし、日本の国内でもこの原子力発電所について、国民が結論を出していかなきゃいけない問題だと思います。そういう意味でこの「デイズ」というドラマを見てもう一回ちょっとエネルギーについて考える人が増えるといいなと思います。
So everyone who experienced the earthquake and tsunami and all the aftermath around nuclear power station, we know how terrible it was, how devastating it was, and how fearful it is to have that kind of power that can go out of control. But at the same time, we use electric power every day without even thinking of limits. And if we can supply that power without using the nuclear power, of course that would be the ideal. But it's really difficult to talk about and think about it. And I also had reservations when I was invited to play this role. Is it okay to make this topic into a piece of entertainment? Would it be okay to talk about it in a drama series? And so I had to think about it, but I decided to join this project because I felt that this very strong will of Masumoto, that for this project he was saying that it's really important to depict with care like what precisely happened on that day during that time. And I believed in him. I agree, and I believed in him as well. And I also believe that bringing that story to the world is very important. And he also, and we don't know if that nuclear power plant will actually come to an end because the problem is still going on and it's still decommissioning. And we don't know how many years it will take to say that it's come to the end. But it's really important for us to keep thinking about it. And Masumoto said that he wants to continue focusing on this issue and observe and also depict this process for the future as well. So he wants to do it as a life work. So I thought that joining the very first season of his process will be very much important for me as well, and what I can contribute to talk about this topic. And the world is at the chaos and confusion, but the energy issue is a worldwide topic that everyone needs to think about and to be involved in. And also in Japan, I think it's the citizens, the ordinary people, who need to come up with a solution or answer to how we're going to deal with this power situation or the energy problem. So I think, I hope that by watching the days, the more number of people will actually become interested in knowing about the energy issues and start talking about it.
Okay, yes. Tom, wow. We can't, Tom and then Thomas and then let's see, but we're kind of running out of time. Yes. Microphone, please.
Tom Mess of Midnight. For both gentlemen, streaming services are playing a bigger and bigger part in the Japanese entertainment world. From each of your perspectives, what do these kinds of projects offer that particularly Japanese TV drama does not?
お二人に質問なんですけれども、こういった配信で映像を楽しむという文化は今すごい勢いで広がっていますけれども、こういった配信サービスを使ってこのような作品を届けるということが日本のこういったドラマの在り方ですとか作品の作られ方ということにどのような影響を与えたと思われますか？
この映像業界全体にどういう影響を与えたかということに関しては 自分はリサーチしたわけではないのでちょっとわからないです。ただ僕自身がどう影響を受けたかということを聞かれればなぜ自分たちはこれを作るのかとか日本人がこれを作ることに意味があるのかということをすごく考えるようになりました。というのは作ったものが今までであれば日本の国内の視聴者に出ていくというのが僕なんかテレビでやってきた仕事ですので基本でした。ところがこのネットフリックスですとか、他にもありますディズニーもありますし Hulu もありますけれども全てどのプラットフォームも基本的には世界に作ったものが出ていくと。そうなるとなぜ日本人である自分がこれを作らなければいけないのかとか、世界にこれは果たして伝えたいメッセージなのかみたいなことを今までよりもより真剣に考えるようになりました。でその視点から言うとこの「ザ・デイズ」というドラマはやっぱり自分たちの手で我々日本人の手で作って、世界の人々にこういう事故を起こしてしまったんだと。でそれを我々としては最後まで責任を持って向き合いたいんだというメッセージを世界に出していきたいなということを感じました。
So I don't have any data or research about effect of having streaming services over other media or film or TV. So I cannot answer in that way, but I can answer your question on how this streaming services and how this increase of streaming services influenced my way of thinking of what I can make as a film or moving image maker, because all these platforms, the streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney, Hulu, allows us to deliver our message directly to the world. And before, when I was making programs at TV station, it was only for the domestic audience, basically. I only anticipated the domestic viewers within Japan. But I had to change my mind completely, because now the question is, why do we make this work to be delivered to the world? Like what is the reason that I, as a Japanese person, have to make this work and distribute it to all over the world? What is the intention? And I have to be able to explain that why. So that's the whole different mindset, and that's also a reason why I made the days, because I thought that it's necessary for me as a Japanese person to make this work based on that incident that we caused, that had a worldwide effect, and think about what was actually happening. And so it was important that the Japanese people talk about this incident, and also to deliver the message that we do feel responsible and we have this sense of responsibility about this incident. So I thought that was the important message that I can bring out to the world.
Mr. Yakusho?
まず、地上波のドラマではこの「デイズ」という「ザ・デイズ」というのはの内容的に企画はおそらく 100% 通らないと思います。そういう意味ではこの「ザ・デイズ」の内容を伝えるにはこの配信というのが一番その自由度が高いし、自分たちが思ったものを表現できるのではないかと思います。プロデューサーのこの松本さんはフジテレビという立派な会社にいらっしゃったんですけど、そこを退職して第1作目でこの地上波ではできないドラマを作ったのだと思っています。そういう意味では地上波ではできない物語をやっぱりこういう配信サービスができて僕たちのその表現の場は非常に広がったと思っています。
I think when I think about the content that we were able to realize in the days, I don't think we can do the same thing like 100% if we were to make a program for broadcasting TV. I think we would have more obstacles and we would have more burden, and we might have to change some of the content that we wanted to bring out. So in a way, streaming services allow us to be more free and more honest about what we want to tell and what we want to deliver as message. We want to come up with different ways of expression. So I think it liberates us and allow us to have more options on how we tell the stories. And Masumoto-san used to work in a big company called Fuji Television, and I think it also means something that this was the first work that he wanted to make after he became a free agent, after quitting the company. So it was really meaningful that we were able to try to come up with a story that cannot be made for TV, and that allows us to experiment more and broaden our ways of expression, I think.
Yes, Thomas?
Thank you. My name is Thomas Ash. I'm a member of the club. Thank you both for coming and for bringing the program. And as Karen said in the introduction, we care very much about this issue. And so thank you for giving us the opportunity to think more about it and to remind the younger people, younger generation about it. My question is that in your answer, you mentioned, I thought you said something about season 1. So does this mean that there's a season 2? And if so, please enlighten us.
And is there a role for Yakusho-san in season 2?
Yeah, because he said I wanted to take part in season 1. So I wonder, is there a season 2, and are you going to be a part of it?
今日お二人にいらしていただいて本当に良かったです。そしてカレンさんも最初のイントロダクションでもおっしゃってましたけれども、そして増本さんもお話しされていましたけれども、こういうような作品が作られることがきっかけで、私のような世代のものでたくさんの人がこの問題について考えるきっかけを作ってくださったと思うので、感謝申し上げたいと思います。先ほど役所さんがお話ししてた時にこの増本さんのこの長いプロセスのシーズン1に参加したいと思ったというふうな表現があったと思うので、これはシーズン1ということで次があるのかというふうに思ったということと、役所さんが引き続き続投されるのかなということなどについてお聞きしたいと思いました。
僕はそのシーズン2、シーズン3、松本さんが生きてる間にはまだ表現できないほどの今後があるドラマになると信じています。それには今日いらっしゃってるこの皆さんのお力をお借りしてこのシーズン1の「The Days」が本当に世界中でたくさんの人に見ていただけるように皆さんのお力を借りたいなと思って今日来ました。残念ながら僕は吉田所長の役はシーズン1で亡くなりましたけどもなんか吉田所長に似てる男が出てるなというふうな感じで登場できる役があれば喜んでやりたいと思います。
Thank you. I said season 1 when I was describing the process and the life work that Masumoto-san wants to take to depict what would happen in the future as well about this issue around the nuclear power station in Fukushima. And I said season 1 because I think this project can be and should be a lifelong project, or maybe even longer after Masumoto-san's life, and it would take much longer to actually depict the whole thing. So I said that in the hope that this project will continue being brought up and being delivered to the audience. And in order to do that, I would like to ask for your support for the days, the season 1. To be watched by a lot of people and to reach to a lot of people, so that we can continue this journey. And my role as a Yoshida, the station manager, ended at the end of the episode for this series. So I cannot play that character anymore. But if there's any chance that I can play a role that sort of looks similar to Mr. Yoshida in some ways, I would love to join the project again.
今、役所さんは吉田さんが亡くなってしまったので、続編の場合はどう出るかっていう話をおっしゃってたんですけど、最近ですとシーズン2で時間が戻ってエピソード0的な設定をやるというのはよくありますので、全然またオファーさせていただければと思います。
I think it's possible to have Yakusho-san join a project in the season 2 or 3 because, Yakusho-san said that his role is over because Yoshida, the station manager, is actually deceased. But, it's a trend now to do an episode 0 or, to go back in time and talk about the past or before the episodes as a season 2. So I think it's very likely or very possible to have Yakusho-san continuously join this project.
そしてですね、本当に皆さんのお力添えがあって続編が作れるという暁にはですね、皆さん今もまだ、全く収束してないんですね、この福島第一原発の事故というのは、最終回でもナレーションで役所に語ってもらいましたけど、数百トンあるデブリはまだ1グラムも取り出せてないですし、何万人もの人がまだ家に帰れてないですし、今日もおそらく3000人とか4000人の人たちが福島第一原発で廃炉作業をやってます。でこれは本当にいつ終わるかわからない事故で、本当に皆さんにその作業が続いていることを忘れないでほしいなということを常々思うんですね。なのでできることであればこれをライフワークとして描き続けていけたら本当に自分がやってる意味があるなと、強く思います。
Yeah, and if thanks to your support, if we get to do different seasons and continue this project, I hope you keep in mind that this issue around the nuclear power station in Fukushima is not a thing in the past. It's still going on, and it's happening today. And all these, I had the actual talk about this at the very end of the episode, that all these contaminated debris that is lying underneath the station, hundreds and tons of that debris, single part of it has not removed from the power station yet. And thousands of people are still not living in their home. Today, probably from 3,000 to 4,000 people have worked in that nuclear power station in the process of decommissioning. It's still happening, like it is happening today. So we don't know when it's going to end. So I hope you don't forget that this is actual problem that is happening today. And I will do this as a life work to follow what's going to happen in the future. And if you also keep this in mind and don't forget that this is still happening, then I think my work will be worth it.
Please join me in thanking once again Jun Masumoto, Koji Yakusho.
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。Thank you very much.
I am so sorry you had so many more questions. We just couldn't get to them. We have a 1-year honorary membership, so perhaps we can convince them to come back in and answer more questions. Please help get the word out to all of your friends overseas that they should be watching The Days and talking about it. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And we will now have a photo session here in the front.
ありがとうございました。
Can you take a seat, please? Thank you very much.